Well, it's that time of year again, guys, and we're going to talk about the best Marvel Legends of 2022. It was pretty tough because there were a lot of great Marvel Legends released in 2022, but I've selected my favorites, and we're going to have some fun today, guys. Now, keep in mind, we will only be talking about standard releases, so that means no deluxe action figures, no Build-A-Figures, and certainly no HasLabs. Some of these might surprise you, some of them might not. Regardless, grab yourself something to drink, maybe a little bit of popcorn, guys, and kick your feet up and relax, and let's talk about the best Marvel Legends of 2022. Be sure you stick around for our honorable mention, guys, because it's one that may surprise you, maybe not. The fifth best Marvel Legend of 2022, Soulmates, was the Shocker, and this is one that a lot of people have told me they don't like, but personally, I just don't see it because I think this is kind of a great action figure. This is actually one of my favorites from the second wave of the retro Spider-Man action figures. And the sculpt on this thing, honestly, it's great. The only thing that appears to be missing from it, maybe you could say, is black lines where his stitches are, but to me, the sculpt just makes sense, and so does the lack of black lines. When I first heard about this one, I was surprised to see that he would not have wrist articulation or anything like that, but once I saw how the hands were made and the way that his gauntlets worked, well, it made sense to me that they wouldn't have articulation because it's kind of hard to do that with the way the Shocker is made. So just having the extra pair of hands works well for me. One thing I wish the Shocker would have had was accurate special effects pieces, because when you look at the Shocker from the comics, his effects are blue colored and he uses vibrational shock waves. Some people might not realize this, but he does not use electricity like Electro does. But aside from that, this is a completely new sculpt we're seeing on the Shocker, and that's kind of a big deal for Marvel Legends because the line features so much reuse. But not only is it new, it's also a very accurate rendition of the Shocker, and it's the best version of the Shocker we have to date. This one is totally an underrated release, I think. The fourth best Marvel Legend of 2022, Soulmates, is Spiral from the X-Men Retro Card Collection, and this one came as a real surprise because I really didn't see this one coming, but it turned out to be such a wonderful action figure, and I originally wasn't going to include it on this list because I didn't really expect it to be released until next year, but it does appear that the retro card releases here are being released early, so Spiral will make this list. And well, I guess it's pretty obvious why this one has made the list, because one, it looks like the sculpt is fairly unique to her, at least it's not very obvious that anything is being reused to me, and the accuracy to the source material on this one is really good, very impressive, and it comes fully loaded with accessories. I mean, look at all that you get here. You get 6 different weapons included with her, plus a couple of extra hands. That is truly awesome that she gets a weapon for every hand she has. I think the part that I like most about this one is that it's just a regular release. This one is not a deluxe release at all, and that really surprises me because when I first saw it, I thought to myself, yeah, that's totally gonna be a deluxe release, and guess what? Standard price. So I have absolutely no trouble recommending this one to everybody, and if you really want Spiral, and I imagine you probably do considering that Mojo and Longshot just came out and those were pretty good too, you should go seek this one out, guys. The quality is really up there on this release. The third best Marvel Legend of 2022, Soulmates, is Symbiote Spider-Man. And this one is a pretty obvious slam dunk because how hard is it really to make a good Symbiote Spider-Man action figure? Well, not all that hard, because really all you gotta do is take your existing Spider-Man action figure and repaint him, and wha-bam, you're done. And even though that is what is happening here on this Spider-Man action figure, it is a pretty much perfect rendition of Symbiote Spider-Man, undeniably. And not only is he a pretty good release, he's been relatively easy to get, because a lot of the Spider-Man action figures of late, guys, The most desirable ones have been packaged in strange ways, like being Walmart exclusives or packing them in a 2-pack with a figure you don't really want. This one is very notable for being one of the most desirable versions of the character with no nonsense attached. Or at least no nonsense aside from his general desirability, making him kind of hard to get at retail. As it stands, it's a great action figure, everyone loves him, and it's easy to see why. The second best Marvel Legend of 2022 Soulmates is the Lizard from the Spider-Man Retro Card Collection. And, well, is anyone really surprised by this? Because it's one of the best versions of the Lizard that we've ever seen, really, and it's the most accurate comic book version of the Lizard we've seen yet. This one overall was a very good release that I enjoyed very much. He came with a bunch of really cool accessories, like, of course, his tail. This one is notable for introducing a bendy tail, and the articulation on this one was pretty good, I do have to say. The only thing I didn't like about him was perhaps his ankle articulation, but other than that, everything felt pretty solid here. A lot of people didn't like this one because of the size for some reason, because the size I thought was just fine. Perhaps the worst thing about the Lizard was that he was a Walmart exclusive, and he's been very difficult for a lot of people to get. So there is that, but if you can get him, and I do recommend you get him, he's a wonderful action figure that I think represents the character almost perfectly, and I think you're going to be as happy with him as I have been. Guys, if you can't find him online, be sure you check out some physical Walmart stores. Before we get to our number one Marvel Legend of 2022 Soulmates, we need to talk about the honorable mention, because there were a lot of great Marvel Legends released this year, but some of them, well, they just couldn't make the cut. Let's take a look at it right now, guys. Our first honorable mention, Soulmates, is Jigsaw, a Walgreens exclusive. And this one's really surprising because usually Walgreens exclusives would not make it into the top 5, let alone a reused action figure like Jigsaw mostly is on his body. But there are a couple of things that really bring this one home, namely the head sculpt, because it is 100% accurate to how Jigsaw looks in the comics. It looks grotesque, it looks perfect, and he even has the neck brace. There's nothing about this one where I look at it and say, oh yeah, that doesn't work. That head sculpt is nailed down just right. And the body is a reused generic suit body, but you know what? He comes with a bunch of accessories, and there is an unusual number here. He comes with a couple of knives, he comes with a machete, he comes with a baseball bat, he comes with a shotgun, and it has 2 blast effects and 2 smoke effects. There's so much in this package, and it feels like you're getting your money's worth on this one, so it's hard not to look at this one and say, yeah, this is a pretty good release, guys, and he is. I think you guys should definitely check him out. He looks about right for the character, and the accessories really bring it home. Another honorable mention worth bringing up is from the Spider-Man Retro Card series, and this one is Rhino, guys. Now, I know I said I wasn't going to include any deluxe action figures or Build-A-Figures, but you know what? This is just an honorable mention, so we're gonna throw it in. And this one was a very enjoyable action figure. I really liked the face sculpt on this one, and even after 7 years, because this one's body is from all the way back in 2015, it still feels really good, and it still feels very detailed and appropriate for Rhino, and also you get a couple of extra hands with this one. So there's really a lot to like here, and really the only criticism that you can bring up on this one is that it's a little old, because, it is from all the way back in 2015, like we just said. I think if they had done a little bit more work on this one and modernized some of the articulation for 2022, this one would have been a really excellent release, and as it is, it's still very fun to play with, and it looks great. But it's undeniable here that this one feels a little dated, and because of that we have to regulate this one to the honorable mentions instead of giving it a place on the best of 2022. And now let's look at the number 1 best Marvel Legend of 2022 Soulmates, Herald of Thunder Thor. This one is a truly incredible release. He comes with a bunch of accessories, and they're not just a bunch of hands, although he does come with a set of hands, but other than that, he comes with 2 Asgardian ravens, he comes with lightning special effects, and then he also comes with Mjolnir. But that's not all, soulmates, because looking at Thor here, it is very apparent that they put a lot of love into this one, and when you observe him up close, you see all the textures that really bring an action figure together. You can see the thread count of his tunic, as well as all the scales of his armor, and then the make-believe leather textures that we see on his boots, and you know, those spikes add a little something special too. This is a really nice piece, and it's incredibly accurate to what we see of this character from the comic books. Obviously, guys, if you see him out there in the wild, or just online, or wherever, I recommend you check him out. This is one of those releases that really highlights how good Marvel Legends can be, I think. And, well, when they're on point, they're really on point. Well, soulmates, what were your favorite Marvel Legends of 2022? Were they similar to mine? Were they completely different? Was about half and half? I don't know, guys. Let me know what your favorite Marvel Legends of 2022 were down in the comments. But remember, no deluxe releases, no Build-A-Figures, and no HasLabs. If you'd like to see what the best Marvel Legends of 2021 were, guys, you can check out that video here.